What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Get Your Bell Rung Football Podcast. He is Kevin Reynolds. I am Bobby Wall, and we are here to talk all things football and hit you with some takes that might rattle you up a bit. On tonight's show, we will talk about the week 9 that was week 9 that we just got through.
Correct, sir.
That is wild. We're going to give out some mid-season awards, some good, some not so great. And as always, our starts of the week. But first, Mr. Kevin Reynolds, how you doing?
Hanging in there, buddy. We got the nice weather still for another day or two. Then it looks like winter's going to come. So my tennis season will be coming to a grinding halt here soon. But aside from that, things are good. I consider going down to the Ravens game this Sunday, but I'm probably not. Tickets are just freaking. It's just through the roof anymore. I can't afford to spend $400 to go. Me and my daughter go watch a football game.
Dude, it's insane. And then you're paying anywhere from $50 to $75 just a park.
That's what I'm saying. Between tickets, parking, food, drinks,
and it's everything.
$400.
Concerts, all of it. It's wild. It's wild. Yeah, man. I've been working out a little more than normal. Feeling good about, myself making some good food choices. My son, he's crushing kindergarten. We got our first awards day tomorrow in school, and he's getting a couple awards for reading and math. It's good, man. I know it's November, but pretty thankful, counting the blessings.
When's the second one coming along?
End of January. The little brother will be picking.
Well, let me ask you this. Will we still be able to, will Reggie give the blessing for us to still take our trek to Detroit in April? Because I've been telling people that we're going.
Yeah, I may have to pull the grandparent card and see if my mom or dad can come down and hang out for the weekend.
Because I really want to do that. As a matter of fact, I was even thinking this week that we should probably start looking at accommodations soon because it'll probably be a pretty big weekend there.
Yeah, man, I don't even know what date it is this far out, but absolutely
sometime in April.
Yeah, we're going to do a show from the draft, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be awesome.
Maybe we'll talk to our friends from last year, see if we can get any pointers on how we could sneak into the place.
Oh yeah, was it the Brandt brothers? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Man, it'd be pumped. All right, sir, we got some changes going on here at the quarterback position. We got let's see, Kyler Murray should be making his first start this week. Will Levis has been named the official starter probably for the rest of the season, obviously barring injury. And then the Rams signed a quarterback as well. But I'll go ahead and let you introduce, because I'm not falling into that hole again. But let's start with Kyler Murray.
I don't know why you've got to be like that. You finally were on board, and you even said you'd come to terms, you come to grips with things, and now we're going backwards. Is that where we are?
You know what, Kevin? I decided we're going to go ahead and rip this Band-Aid off. I'm changing up my show notes here. Prince Harry got signed by the Rams. He was 2-5 last year for the Commanders. This guy does not have a lot left, but they cut every other quarterback on the roster. I mean, Brett Rippon just started a game, and now he's on the street. Carson Wentz doesn't have a lot left, but he is better than Brett Rippon, I would think, and maybe better than a hurt Matt Stafford. So, what is going on here with Carson Wentz? I'm sorry, Prince Harry.
Well, besides the fact that his tax-funded bodyguards and police protection were taken from him and Markle, this sounds like a pretty good deal. I mean, why not go in there? He might have to play a little bit, might not. Anything's better than Rippon. What's that? Bennett Stetson? He's hanging out the local dive bar, so he won't be playing. Oh yeah, Stetson. Yeah, that's how quickly this guy's just going from the lexicon of football. He's just a really old college football player who now is more worried about drinking than football. Now we like to have a few drinks, but nobody offered us $7 million a year to play football. I would gladly give up my beer for $7 million a year to play football. Matt Stafford can't stay on the field. Why would you not bring in a veteran and at least can learn a playbook if he doesn't already know it very quickly. Anything's better than Brett Rippon. They still have an very outside shot at making the playoffs. You do
I
anything if you're in that position.
yeah, I know as a Cooper Cup and Puka Nakua owner, I'm thrilled
Oh
that they're
yeah.
bringing in Wentz, and I mean Wentz wasn't good, but
Well, no,
like
they'll
you said,
still lose probably games. He'll throw 3 picks, but he'll also throw for 365 yards, of which 250 of it will be to those two.
right, and he's not afraid to rip it. So
No, as far as a
that
fantasy thing goes, this is great for any Rams receivers owners. From a football standpoint, again, not great. It's not going to save the world, but it's better than Brett Rippon.
so Kyler Murray first start in I mean like a year, right? So if as long as they trot him out there, how do you feel about his fantasy outlook first week back?
First week back, not stellar. Although they say there'll be no restrictions. It's still first game back. You're going to have a little bit of rust. That said, it's got to be better than that jackass they threw out last week. What was that fella's name?
Clayton Tune,
Yes. Oh, sweet Lord. What? How on earth is that guy on an NFL roster?
right? So who's better, him or Brett Rippon?
Brett Rippon, that's night and day. He can at least run the offense. He can't run it well. This other dude, what did they have? Like 55 total yards of offense for an entire game? How is that possible in the NFL? I could see when you're in one of those blizzard games or a game where it's -10 out or in the middle of a hurricane, but hanging out in the Arizona sun and blah, blah, blah. And that's all you can do is 55 freaking total yards, less than a yard per minute.
Yeah, I didn't think about it like that. You're right. That's
Um,
pretty impressively bad.
that said, I'm sure you've read some of the things coming out of there that Murray seems like he's maybe turned a page and realized that he had perhaps been a bit of an ass and squandered the first few years of his career and is finally deciding maybe he's going to take things seriously and accomplish something.
I know it was an ACL that he's coming back from, but I'm really hoping that 'cause I'm going to start him. Okay, actually, you know what? I'll ask you. Who would you start? Kyler Murray against Atlanta, decent matchup, first start back, or the surprising Russell Wilson Monday night, but he's playing against Buffalo, which is pretty tough on fantasy quarterbacks.
Probably Kyler Murray, just because I know he'll rush enough to get me at least the extra touchdown right there.
So my follow-up question was going to be, even though he's coming back from an ACL, are you worried about him not taking off?
No, because it's been 11 months. So no,
I'm with you, by
I
the way.
think honestly, Arizona was hesitant, but at the same time, they want to make sure he's good. But they want him out there. They want him doing everything because, again, some of the reports I read today is this isn't just for him. This is his audition for every other team in the league in
Does
the
the fact
offseason.
that the new Call of Duty is coming out tomorrow affect your
No,
idea
that
of
could be
how he'll perform?
problematic. No, because like I said, things coming out of there saying he's a new man. That he
Yeah.
decided he's
Was
not a child anymore. He's a grown man, and maybe this injury could be the best thing that ever happened to him. Maybe realize like, hey, none of this is for granted. I could be out of the league in another 6 months.
he certainly could be. All right, last one. Will Levis. What do we think?
Well, this is another one of those situations. Couldn't be any worse than Tannehill or Malik Willis. He likes to slang it, and we like that. The dude can just stand flat foot. We were talking off, not on the show about the other week, or maybe even on the show, how the guy could throw 70 yards falling
Yeah,
backwards. It's sick.
he did.
But he's going to need time. He needs to learn the offense. He needs to do this and that. He needs, hopefully, they'll do some better play calling there, give him a chance. But I don't dislike it. Why not? That team's not going anywhere. Why not give him the reps this year so he's not brand new next year?
What about you going to start him on your fantasy team? 27 points in his first start, 10 in his second.
Oh, it depends what my other options are.
Yeah.
Do I think he's a top 12 guy? No. Do I think he's a top 16 guy? No. But if you're in my case, like in my league of record, and your two top 5 quarterbacks from weeks 1 through 4 are both on IR for the season, you got to do something. I tried to get him, didn't get him, so I'm throwing out Derek Carr, who's not really a top 12 guy either.
Well, he's got Tampa, who give up the fourth most points to quarterbacks. So I'm in a QB quandary in a league where I have I'm actually my decision is between Carr and Levis, and I think I'm going Levis this week
Yeah,
for the
I was
ceiling.
just looking at the
Carr's
weather.
going to
It's
give
supposed
me
to
the
be really
floor.
warm, like 83 and sunny down there in Tampa. So he's going to get good weather.
Yep.
Matter of fact, I have D Hop as my receiver of the week.
Oh, okay. Back to the well. I like it. All right, we'll do some mid-season awards here.
Sure, buddy.
All right. So we did MVP, we did bust, we did surprise player, rookie, and coach. Now I know what yours are. You went more real football over fantasy. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And I
And
lean
it's
more
still a
towards
little bit of
fantasy.
both. Really, it's a
Mine's more towards fantasy, so that's good. What's who's your midseason MVP?
well, a lot of you will call me a homer, but I think right now he's actually the odds-on Vegas favorite is L. Jackson.
You are.
Lead still number one in the league in completion percentage, number one in the league in completion percentage on throws at least 15 yards down the field, still leading the league of all quarterbacks with over 400 yards rushing. He's not making the endless mistakes, the fumbles, the interceptions anymore. You can't say with the numbers he's putting up, you can't say that he's just sort of managing this offense, but in a way he is, and they're allowing others to do work. It doesn't hurt that they're getting great field position. But if I had to put the money on somebody today, it would have to be Celtics. Not to mention they're the number. I mean, they're tied for the best record, but they're the number 2 seed in the AFC right now. MVP almost always comes from a team towards the top. So that's where I'm going because Tua's dropped off a little for a game or two. Mahomes hasn't looked particularly great, and L-Jax isn't, like I said, he's not blowing people out of the water here, but I think he's made serious ground the last couple of weeks. Who you got?
Can I can I blow your mind here for a second? Do you know who's the second leading rusher for the quarterback position?
I don't. I mean, you would usually go with Josh Allen, Hurts. Obviously, if you're blowing my mind, it's not them.
Well, you got Josh right. It's Joshua Dobbs.
Oh wow,
324 rushing yards.
wow.
I know, right?
He's
There you
had a
go.
great year, except for the week I played him when he got 6 points and had 12 at one point.
Yeah. Mine's Christian McCaffrey. He had a bye week. He's still the number one running back in fantasy by more than 20 points. And like I said, I took a fantasy turn here. This guy is unreal. He is the offense, and when they need to run the ball, they give it to him. When they need to throw the ball, they throw it to him. So I just don't know how you can't. I mean, I don't know how you can pick somebody else besides him unless you wanted to go Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek Hill's got AJ Brown um, right on his heels. So CMC's in a class by himself.
Okay, well let me just ask you something real quick here. So CMC in our say our once and done league has 187.
Mhm.
Your boy Etienne in my world has 153, but one of them went number one overall. The other one went probably what, early third round,
Yeah, I would say so. Early mid third.
and only 34 points behind. So you wouldn't put any stock in it as far as if you're talking about numbers compared to draft position. You couldn't throw him in there, or even
Uh,
Mostert, who is at 164. He's even between them, and now we're talking about a guy who probably went in the sixth, seventh round.
yeah, he was much slower. Yeah, we're talking about who's the best, who is the most
So you're
valuable.
just talking straight points. Well, I'm
Right.
saying from a fantasy standpoint, we look at more than just straight points. We look at value. You get a guy in the seventh round that gets as many points as a guy in the first round. That guy's far more valuable to you because you got him in the seventh round.
Now that would be different, right? So that would be like, oh my gosh, who was the running back for Jacksonville that was undrafted everywhere and ended up being like RB4 on the
James
year? James
James
Robinson.
Robinson. He just
Yeah,
got cut again, by the way.
right. So now if we're, someone like that, we're talking who's the best draft value. Sure, ETN's in the conversation. Definitely Mostert, 100%. Another guy I'm going to talk about as my rookie um, so far would also be in that conversation. But I'm not talking about draft value. Don't care anything about that. CMC was the number one pick for a reason. He's the best in the game.
Fair enough.
Who's your bust?
Now you're saying I'm doing this from fantasy, or you're saying I'm doing
No,
this?
no, no. You went a real football route, which is just fine.
I did.
I went a little fantasy.
But mine would be both. It'd be Bijan, but it's not because of him. It's because of
I
the
know. Yep.
awful. Arthur Smith is completely outthought himself. He's wasting two of the what are considered two of the best like spark athletes in the league between him and Pitts are just a joke to even be on that team. It makes no sense. The two guys on your team that can contribute the most, you don't even give them a chance to contribute. It's mind-boggling. From an NFL standpoint, it makes no sense. The guy averages whatever yards per carry. It's just a ridiculous number. From a fantasy standpoint, why is this guy not getting the ball? There were leagues he's got a lot of leagues. I see he's going top 3, top 4. Right? I spent an arm and a leg on him, drafted him, expecting huge things, and right out of the gate, it looked great. Then Arthur Smith decided, yeah, I don't really care about playing this guy. Matter of fact, I hate him so much. One of these weeks, I'm going to make up a mystery illness and only give him 1 carry. It's mind-boggling to NFL people. Like anything you read about online, like every expert there is like, how does Arthur Smith still have a job? Why did they waste the draft? What was the point drafting these guys to not play?
Nothing came of that, by the way.
Of
the Falcons. I didn't see him get fined. I didn't see anything from that.
If anything did happen, I guess it was low key, and maybe they just aren't done with it yet. Yeah. But regardless, why use all the draft cap on these guys if you didn't plan to ever give them the ball? The offense should be based around the two of them, and it's just not.
He's RB 27 in points per game.
Yeah,
he is the best player on the field almost always when he's on the field, regardless of who they're playing against. He's the best guy out there.
You can't find. I challenge anybody listening, watching. Show me an article that defends this. Besides something that Arthur Smith himself wrote, because apparently he's the only person that's privy to this information. Do you see the BS he put out the other night about this, that, and the other of the scheme of things and this, and we know what's going on in our building and this crap? Like, dude, it's you, not everybody else on the Falcons. It's just you.
Now, he did say something that was truthful. He said that Tyler Algier is one of the best goal line backs in the league. And Tyler Algier, like from the goal line, I think he's like 3 of 6 in scoring. Well, he hasn't scored from the goal line. He's also only had 1 carry.
Yeah. I don't exactly think he'd be poor at scoring down there. But it doesn't matter. They don't give him the ball anywhere. And they're not giving the ball anywhere. He's not on the field half the time.
I'm singing his praises, and I was kind of pumping the brakes just a little bit during draft season. Like, I wasn't sure for various reasons. I'm like, this guy, I don't know. Everyone's so high on him. There's a couple little things I was worried about, but dude, I'm watching this guy play. He's every bit of it.
Yeah, it's not him. It's Arthur Smith. So from a fantasy standpoint, or if you're a Falcons fan, the best thing that could happen to Bijan, Arthur Smith gets fired at the end of the season because he's awful.
Absolutely. No, Arthur Smith gets fired.
I don't think he's a horrible coach. He's just completely wastes the talent on his team.
Right. Well, and I mean,
and that is horrible. That is horrible itself. It's mind-boggling. Right. So that's my guy from both standpoints.
My biggest bust is Devontae Adams. He is wide receiver 25 in points per game. This guy has had 1 wide receiver 1 finish all year. That's it. We're in week 10. We've had 9 weeks of this nonsense. He's been a wide receiver 1 just once, and he was wide receiver 1 that week. Other than that, it has been absolutely abysmal. I'm really hoping they can turn this around because my gosh,
I've got him slated for the playoffs, for the once and done. If I make it, we're not looking too far ahead here, but I'm at the point now. Can I trust him? Can I trust Cooper Kupp in the fantasy playoffs, or do I play them before that because I don't really want to play him when it really, really matters?
It's tough to trust anybody, man.
It is anymore.
All right. Who's your biggest surprise?
Biggest surprise. I didn't know I was doing a biggest surprise.
That's right. I'll do one and you think for a minute. How's that sound?
Yeah, because you wrote to me midseason MVP, bust, rookie, and coach. You didn't give me a surprise category.
Hey, surprise.
Yeah, thank you. Jesus.
Oh, my biggest surprise.
I'll come up with somebody here.
He was drafted as wide receiver 50, yet he is already within 8 catches of last year's total. He's only 8 games played, and he's the current wide receiver 9. That is Mr. Old Man Adam Thielen. Good grief. He
Very
was drafted as a wide receiver 5, like bottom of your bench. You didn't start him in week 1, you didn't start him in week 2, and then all of a sudden he's a absolute must start. I think I told you, I think I talked about it on the show maybe a couple weeks ago, where Bryce Young is so hyper focused on him that they called a play. Thielen had just had a big play. He was on the sideline catching his breath. They called a play that's supposed to go to Thielen. Bryce Young looks up and Thielen's not on the field, so he called a timeout so that Thielen could come on the field and he could throw it to him. I mean, it is. I love it, man. Good. Adam Thielen's a good dude. He's had quite the journey, and I love it, man. I'm proud of him. Happy for him.
very good. So I would throw this out then. I actually am too. That's great for Thielen. Because we both just sort of wrote him off. I remember in our preseason thing talking, we completely wrote the dude off. But I would take both Miami backs, Mostert and Achane. Who would have thought Mostert at this point in the season sharing the field? Well, for half of it because Achane got hurt, would be the number 2 running back. And Achane in the games he's actually played, I think, has the highest average per game of the games he actually was a part of. I mean, we thought this. My thing with Tyreek and my thing with Tua, they're my bold predictions. But I would have never thought that these 2 backs would be crazy. Now, granted, they were helped a lot by a single game of 10 touchdowns. I think they had 8 between them. Didn't they have 4 each that game? Is that what it was?
Uh,
Or
is either 4 each or
3 or
Poster may
4
have
and
had
2?
5. It was something wild.
Yeah, it was something else. Speaking of which, you may or may not have seen this today. Who's the worst? Who's the worst offense in the league this year right now so far? Not Green
Giants,
Bay. Who is it?
Giants. It's like 11 points a game.
It's the Giants. Okay, then maybe it's them. One of these teams has 9 offensive touchdowns on the season. I don't know if it's the Giants. Who the hell was it? I'll have to look it up. I'll mention it on Facebook if I see it. Has 9 total touchdowns. The Dolphins had 10
In that game.
It's crazy. Absolutely freaking crazy.
The lowest scoring team is the New York Giants. They have 101 total points. They have 5 passing touchdowns and 4 rushing touchdowns.
Okay, yeah, then it was them. Yeah. So the Giants as a team through 9 weeks have 9 offensive touchdowns. The Dolphins had 10 in one game.
They have 8 interceptions and 4 fumbles lost. They have more turnovers than touchdowns.
And again, I know everybody still wants to blame it on Danny Dimes. Well, people in general. When you read any article, of course, they all mention how they have maybe the worst offensive line in the league in the last 10 years. Danny Dimes has had no chance, and now he's just done.
How do they have 2 wins? That's wild to
a couple
me.
close games.
2 wins. All right. Rookie for me, Puka Nacua. He is currently wide receiver 6. He has 5 top 14 finishes. Now, normally I'd say wide receiver 1, which would be a top 12 finish, but he finished as wide receiver 14 twice. So I'll give him some credit there. I mean, this dude was undrafted in almost every single fantasy draft because why would you? Puka Nacua. I mean, folks barely even heard of him. Drafted, was he 5th rounder out of BYU? And he looks like the real deal week after week. Keep looking for weaknesses. And his only weakness is the guy throwing him the football because he's making all kinds of great catches in traffic. He can be explosive if he needs to, break tackles. I'm excited to see where this guy's career goes.
Yeah, I think his other minor weakness is that Cooper Kupp is back. It hasn't ruined him, but it's definitely cut into his ceiling. That's for sure. But I just went with the obvious. I just went with CJ Stroud, number 6 quarterback so far. Throws up a 46 burger last week. Just looked unstoppable. The dude looks like the real deal, man. That Houston hit the jackpot with him.
Yeah, man. I mean, I saw it coming out. Obviously, he was my QB1 by a fairly wide margin. Definitely, Bryce Young wasn't even in the conversation for me. But I didn't see this. I don't. Even the Texans, I can't imagine saw this. He's had what maybe two games where you're like, yeah, I don't know about that, but he has looked so great. And it's not
So,
like he's doing it. He's at Nico. He has made Nico Collins relevant. And I
oh
know
yeah.
Tank Dell was good in college, but this is the NFL now. But Tank Dell looks explosive and everything, and he is winning. He is willing this team to win games when they're not supposed to.
So it was Lovie Smith, the coach last year, right? If
It
he
was.
hadn't done that and got the number one overall pick, do you think they still would have taken Stroud or that they would have taken Young? Because if they would have taken Bryce Young, you could make the argument that Lovie Smith's whole plan inadvertently backfired and they ended up
True.
with the better quarterback. At least thus
True.
far, it's night and day so far.
Wow, this is a chess match, buddy.
Right?
I don't
Right?
know
Am
how
I
this is.
wrong? I mean,
We're gonna need a decade to figure this one out.
yeah. Oh, we are actually. Because it's very early now. We're 9 games in. This could completely flip flop. Who knows? But right now, boy, do they look
Now
brilliant.
we know for a fact that what's his name, D coordinator for the Jets, whenever he won that game and the Jaguars ended up with the first overall pick,
Mm.
um they uh they ended up with Zach Wilson. That's right. And that is absolutely a loss. Lawrence is
Yeah, that's
far better. We
again.
already know the answer to that one, but we're
Right.
gonna have to see about this Lovie Smith one.
Yeah.
And then my coach is Dan Campbell. The Detroit Lions are 6-2, leading the NFC North, and they have 5 fantasy relevant guys on a team that used to have Calvin Johnson, and that was kind of it. I mean, how about tight end 4, Sam Laporta? Didn't see that coming in the preseason. So you got 2 running backs. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jared Goff is especially when he's playing at home. You can start him anytime he's in that dome. So Dan Campbell is my coach so far.
I want to pick Dan Campbell simply because of our love affair with the Lions. But then it's like, you know what? Going to the season, we expected this. This is not a surprise to me. This is what we expected out of them, to be frank. Um, so as him, I even thought about going with Harbaugh because he finally has made a few changes. But then I was like, you know what? Screw him because they should be 9-0. This is a crock. But they do have the highest. They have the highest, by far, the highest point differential in the league. You know, he's been good. I'll give it to him, but I still want him fired at the end of the season. But I had to go against everything that I hold dear to myself. And you know who I picked. Omar Epps himself, Mike Tomlin. I honestly expected the Steelers to maybe win 5 games all year. Here we are, 5-3. They'd be in the playoffs. It's funny, we were talking about the whole thing of them. There's been only I think I saw that 33 teams in NFL history since they really kept track of this that in their first 8 games they're outgained every game. Of course, this is the first team ever to have a winning record through it. And you know who the last team was to be outscored or outgained every game through 8 weeks?
Let's hear it.
Last year's Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh my gosh.
So
Wow.
nothing's changed. Yet they're 5-3. They've got not except for their divisional games, they don't have a real hard schedule the rest of the year. This is a team that could easily now go 10-7, 11-6, and make it in the playoffs. And who wants to play that defense and play his mind in the playoffs? Nobody does. I wouldn't expect him to go there and win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that, but I wouldn't want to play him in the divisional round
They're a 6-11 team.
at best.
That's yes. He does it every year. It's incredible. Never having a losing season like 20 years or however long he's
Yeah.
been there. It's
Not once has he gone out onto the field and tried to tackle anybody in the middle of the
gosh,
play.
here we go.
So he doesn't even have that. He's still doing it without cheating.
Wild. All right, you ready to move on and break down these games?
I sure am, buddy.
All right. Speaking of your Steelers, they beat the Titans
They're not
last.
my Steelers. Please don't ever say that again. That's the closest thing we've ever come to fighting words on this show. I'll even do this because of that. That was wrong on many levels.
I really tried to sneak that in there.
Wow. Well, when I say your Cowboys one of these days, we'll see how it feels.
That's fine. The only player worth having on the Titans was Derrick Henry. We talked Will Levis really let you down after that monster game. And of course, if he didn't do anything, neither did DeAndre Hopkins. As for the Steelers, there were some options there. Najee Harris got you almost 15. Jalen Warren is easily the best player in that backfield. It's not this guy is so explosive. He looks so much better than Najee Harris. I
There
don't know
must
why
be
they don't make the
something that we
switch.
don't know.
It has to be. It has to be. And then my guy, Deontay Johnson, 18 and a half points. Great start for you in the once and done.
Oh, it
Not so
was.
much for me and George Pickens. George Pickens had the most egregious non-touchdown catch in all of football this year, probably. He caught a ball in the end zone, foot is in. He's got 3 yards to drag his toe, tap it, anything, and he doesn't. He takes a monstrous 3 yard step out of bounds and doesn't get that other foot in, which obviously ruined his night. But
So reading this week, his whole thing about, he got on Twitter and what he write? Save me or
oh yeah,
help
took his
me,
Hitler
whatever it
stuff
was,
out.
something.
What a
I
dummy!
start thinking this guy was a troublemaker at Georgia, but we never denied his talent. As you know, he was my big guy coming out of
You
college.
loved it. Oh yeah.
I've talked him up and down to you on the show.
Yep.
Is there a chance? I can't say he did this, that he did that on purpose. Is there a chance that not he did it on purpose, but he purposely is going out there now and not trying all that hard and ended up just sort of nonchalantly going through that play because the only thing he can think is how he wants to lead? His buddy scores his first touchdown in a year and a half. Have you seen these pictures? He's there
No.
celebrating. Where's Pickens? Has his helmet off, walking off the field, ignoring the whole thing. He's like, screw him. It's an issue. Tomlin, of course, this week said it's not. It's a pebble in his shoe. But are we witnessing another freaking Pittsburgh diva? But this time a diva before you even accomplished anything?
Here's the problem with that. Let's say he does one out and he's doing it on purpose. 31 other NFL teams are watching you act like a jerk,
Yep.
and they're not going to want you on their team. Like this just shows. I don't know if it's just ignorance or a extremely low IQ. I don't know what it is, but that is just so dumb to do that and act that way.
I think he's just sort of a jackass, dude. And he's going to be a pouty little baby and do his thing, I guess, to play his way out of town. The promise for the Steelers is they'll get a 6th-round pick for him instead of a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah, right.
But
Exactly.
it wasn't a good look. And then the way, like I said, the way he acted after the game and through the game, there's just something's not right there.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. In what was a snooze fest? I don't know, not a snooze fest, but a big letdown of a game was Kansas City Chiefs beating Miami Dolphins 21-14. Only 5 total touchdowns in this game. You kind of thought there was going to be 5 touchdowns for each team going in, but it was in Germany, and way to waste this what could have been an awesome game by putting it overseas. I don't understand. It's a terrible choice. The Dolphins, Raheem Mostert was the only one that did anything for you, and that's because he got a touchdown. If it wasn't for that score, you'd be disappointed in him as well. Patty Mahomes, nothing for you, and really none of the Chiefs. I know they scored 3 touchdowns, but it's like Jerick McKinnon got one, Rashee Rice got one, but didn't get to 10 points. It's
The difference in the
not
game
good.
was a defensive touchdown.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Imagine being a Chiefs season ticket
Oh,
holder
I know.
and losing this game. This
Mm.
whole Europe thing, I don't get it. It's a crop. Such a crop. Now they're saying they're going to do more and more. Now they're talking about playing in Australia, South America, Asia, talking about putting a team in Europe. Who the hell's going to want to go play there away from everything they have here in the States?
Right.
How are they going to get free agents?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. I'm not signing you to play Frankfurt.
Yeah, I mean, what do they do? Give
Like,
them an automatic if you play there. They have the same salary cap, but if you go play there, you automatically get a 50% raise on top of it that doesn't count towards the cap, things like that. What will be the incentive for me to take my family, uproot them, and run them over to freaking Germany to live for the year?
and
Not to
what's
mention
it?
the travel, the jet lag,
That's
and
what yeah.
all this stuff of these games. What happens when Frankfurt, Germany has to play Seattle?
And you got 8 away games. You know what I mean? It's
That's what I'm saying. It makes they say or what division are they going to be in? You know, you're going to put them in the AFC East, so at least it's a little bit closer. Then now all those teams every year have to travel to Europe. It's such a mess. It's like the only thing Roger Goodell really does that I think is stupid.
Yeah, I could not agree more.
But yeah, what a
All right,
letdown of a game.
I know. The Patriots lose at home to the Washington Commanders. I know the Patriots aren't good, but come on, you can't beat Washington in your own backyard.
Worst record in the
Um,
AFC.
yeah, no kidding. Washington's very hard to trust, honestly, any of these players. Like hey, Terry McLaurin's going to have a great game. Nah, this week it's Jahan Dotson and Brian Robinson's kind of ho hum. But here comes Antonio Gibson all of a sudden, putting on, breathing down Robinson's neck the last couple weeks. So Logan Thomas did nothing when he's been performing pretty well. And then for the Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson had an awesome game, but a lot of it came on his what? Was it a 65-yard touchdown
Yeah,
run? I
yeah.
think it was.
One long run. Yep.
Yeah, other than that, not much going on there. You started Hunter Henry by chance. He got you a score, and that's it, man.
I'm noticing a trend here in these first three games we've gone through. Not a single back or receiver or tight end or anybody reached 100 yards.
Well, it's
Not a single one.
that's going to continue for at least one team on our next game we talk about as well.
Yeah, you got
Uh,
that right. Oh, sweet Lord Almighty.
Cleveland 27, Arizona 0. The Clayton
This game should have
Tune
been like 77-0.
Clayton Tune got negative. Sorry, so a long time ago, I don't know if I've shared this on the show or not, but I had a buddy in my league of records named Dan Coons. He one time started Jay Cutler. He had two quarterbacks. His one quarterback was on a bye, so he had to start Cutler. And the quarterback that was on a bye outscored Jay Cutler because Cutler had negative points, and that's exactly what happened. Clayton Tune negative 1.3 points. The big star of the show for Arizona was Marquise Brown and his 4 catches for 24 yards. Luckily, Kyler Murray's back. Kyler Murray likes Hollywood, so let's get that going. And then if you started a Brown, I don't think you were upset about it because it's not like you were starting Elijah Moore or anybody. Um, Kareem Hunt got you almost 10 points. Jerome Ford did get you 10 points. I don't think you were expecting a ton out of them anyway. But Amari Cooper did have a nice game, 5 for 139 and a score.
He did 5 targets, 5 catches. Looked great. He won me got me at 2-0 in my league of record this week.
So how do you feel about Deshaun Watson? He looked good this game, but again,
he's going to be
I don't,
hit or
I don't,
miss. Where
right.
back before the shenanigans, he was hit every week. Maybe had a miss or two each year. I don't know. This is one game he played well, but it's the first game he's really played well. And it was against a god awful team. They were getting the ball on like the Arizona 30 on every other series. So
Yeah. I think we're going to find out, right? They play the Ravens this week. They play your Ravens this week. So we're going to find out what Watson's made of. If he comes out and he performs well this week, then all right. Now we're getting somewhere. We mentioned the Rams. Luckily, they're on bye to, I don't know, lick their wounds. This game, again, Rams and Packers, not a single person reached the 100-yard mark. So far, we've gone through what? This is our fifth game. We have one
game
guy, Amari Cooper,
one.
make it to 100 yards. I
Yep.
mean, Brett Rippon barely got to 100 yards passing as the quarterback. So big letdown here. Although Aaron Jones did score, and it's obviously been his best game since week one. And that's it, unless you threw Luke Musgrave out there with a Hail Mary.
Yeah, that was actually a nice catch. It was a nice little play.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, these are two
that's
teams
it.
that are just
Right? That's
trash. When the Rams don't have Matt Stafford in, they're just trash.
yeah. The next game though, this was much more exciting. The Minnesota Vikings beat the Atlanta Falcons with Josh Dobbs. This guy's journey is incredible. He's back up for Pittsburgh, but I think he started a game or two last year with injuries, or the year before maybe. But Tennessee trades for him, if I'm not mistaken. He goes to Tennessee, ends up starting a couple games for them last year. This year, a week before the season starts. Arizona comes calling. He's like, "Hey, we need you." He comes in, learns the playbook, starts. He's a second leading rusher. I mentioned this as quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Josh Dobbs. Well, Kyler Murray's coming back. We'll be fine. Let's trade him to the Vikings, who just lost Kirk Cousins. Don't worry, Dobbs. You don't have to play. We got Jaron Hall in here. Until Jaron Hall gets hurt, Dobbs goes in. Game-winning drive, leads his
Yep.
brand new team. He hasn't even been there for a week.
Nope.
Got there
11
Tuesday.
plays into the game.
Right. He gets you 26 fantasy points, 2 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown.
Did you see Jordan Addison's little quote after the game? That first
Uh,
pass he had to was like, "Yep, that's the first pass I ever caught from him." They never even had a chance to throw. Not even they didn't even have a chance. They never worked together at all and probably didn't get a chance.
Josh Dobbs is becoming my favorite player in the NFL.
Yeah, I'd like to say that too, except for the 8.5 he got me against the Bears.
Oh my gosh. Oh man, you would talk about holding a grudge.
I just
Now, I look.
I, mm.
How do you feel about Alexander Madison? They used him 16 attempts on the ground. Cam Akers is, I don't know. I mean, he had 8, but I
He's
feel like,
done. Torn Achilles. He's out.
well, right. So, but they're going to have somebody else take his spot,
Yeah.
whether it's
I
Chandler.
think he is one of those guys who, and maybe this is Jalen Warren. He puts up really great numbers as the number 2 guy, but just can't do the number 1 job. And maybe that's why Najee still is doing it, because they know they put in Warren when they know they need him, but they know that he can't do that for 25 touches a game. Like Pollard used to say about himself, even though he seems fine anyway, but maybe that's it. I don't know. I couldn't put Madison in a lineup. I wouldn't trust him.
Yeah. Well, boy, it's tough, man. I could put him in as a flex. I certainly don't want him as my RB2.
So check this out. In my league of record, as you know, it's a 16-team league. All the quarterbacks are typically taken unless somebody gets hurt. So this week, the only quarterback that was left was, what's that dude from Arizona? I'm trying to just completely forget his name. Yes, was the only one left. So Nusier, Dr. Tom Nusier, he's a local dentist here. Guy went to college, high school, baseball, all that stuff together. His team squad is shit on a Frisbee. We won't get into that story. It was a long, long time ago in
continue.
8th Street in Ocean City. But nonetheless, he picks up because he has no quarterbacks. Because Kyler Murray wasn't going to play still, and his other one was on bye. So he picks up at like 12:45, he picks up Josh Dobbs, who's not even going to be playing. He's the backup. But he picked him anyway. He's just because he had to have somebody in there. 11 plays in, Josh Dobbs is in. Nusier gets 25.8 points out of him and still goes 0-2. So poetic justice, Nuss, take that.
So he picked up a backup and started him.
There was nothing else. It was him or Clayton Tune. Everything was for him. It's a 16-team league where having a backup quarterback is paramount because of the contracts. You can't just stream this league. You can't just have one core. You have to have a backup at all times because you don't know if there's going to be another one because of the contracts. So there was nothing else.
Evan?
Yes.
Did you, even with all of these points in this game, we only had one person reach 100 yards. And did you start Jonnu Smith anywhere?
Yeah, what he was like a 60-yard screen pass.
Exactly 100 yards.
Yeah, he caught it 2 yards deep and then just gone.
That was our 6th game, and we're at what, 2 people at 100 yards?
Amari Cooper and Jonnu Smith, of all people.
Yeah. Well,
and this
luckily,
game didn't have anybody else is even close. The next closest was only 69 yards.
In our next game, we had a couple people hit the 80 mark, but not 100. The Saints beat the Bears 24-17. And this game was really disappointing for me. We both thought Derek Carr was going to have a better game. We both hate Taysom Hill and his almost 20 points. I don't know why he has to do this. Alvin Kamara, man, he had been rolling. Only 9 points. And then, did you see my guy Michael Thomas? 0.
Yep.
Find him in the stat sheet. You can't because he's not there.
They were moving the ball in the first half. He had 2 touchdowns, Carr, at halftime. And then
Oh, Carr, yeah, yeah.
they just decided they weren't going to throw the second half. And if they were going to let Taysom Hill do it.
Yeah. Luckily, Olave scored. And we'll get back to that real quick. Cole Kmet, 2 touchdowns. He is a favorite. This is 2 weeks in a row. He's Tyson Badgett's go-to guy. Khalil Herbert's coming back this year, so I mean, good luck, Deonta Foreman, Roshan Johnson. I don't know. I mean, good luck there.
Before we go back to the Saints, let me ask you this:
Yeah.
Is Cole Kmet nearing once and done playoff status?
Only if Tyson Badgett's a quarterback. I don't know. Well, he played well. He did
had
well
some
last
big
year with
games
Justin
last year
Fields
with
too.
Fields.
He's so touchdown dependent. I mean, he only had 6 for 55, which is good for a tight end, I guess. But
we'll take
2
that
scores.
from a tight end. That's all I'm asking. Is this a guy
Yeah.
that you at least are considering saving him for a once and done playoff run?
I don't think so. Not with. I mean, you got Kelsey and
You got,
Andrews. Obviously, you
and
can't trust. You can't
can't
trust
trust
Goddard.
Kittle. Who knows what Goddard's going to do? We don't know what his time frame's even going to be.
Here's the deal, man. Honestly, after Kelsey and Andrews, flip a coin, draw a name out
Well,
of a
that's
hat.
exactly what I'm saying then. So are we entering a
Yeah,
point where Cole Kmet is in that conversation of him,
sure.
Evan Ingram,
Yeah,
Goddard, if he's back, of those guys that we flip a coin and say this is the guy we'll put in because we got to put in somebody.
yeah, I think so. Unfortunately, it sounds weird coming
It's
out of my
weird. I
mouth.
know it does. That's why I asked. I was like, you can't feel good about it, but you got to put in somebody that maybe at least has an opportunity of scoring.
Yeah, if you have any Saints on your team, if you have Carr, if you have Kamara, if you have Olave, Michael Thomas, anyone, you have to hate Taysom Hill. He came in on a play he had no business being in on. They were on
None.
the 2 yard line, and you texted me right afterwards. They snapped the ball to Taysom Hill, and he throws a touchdown pass to
Stood there in
Jawan
the
Johnson.
pocket.
I was like,
Not even
why?
a threat of a run. Just stood there in the
Why?
pocket.
Why couldn't Derek Carr do it? Because we both
That's
had Carr in
exactly
our
what I wrote to you. Like, what would he just
team.
do that Derek Carr couldn't have done?
Right.
You and I could have made that throw. He was literally just standing there. What was
Yeah.
Jawan Johnson? I think I played. Literally just standing by himself. A
Mhm.
throw that me and my daughter make out front, just throwing a football around.
Yeah.
Why couldn't
That's
Derek Carr do that?
fantasy football is the worst.
It's
Ugh.
funny because the person I was with, I gave a huge high five to, and then because I was eating, and I looked real quick, then I noticed quickly that it wasn't him; it was freaking Taysom Hill. Because I didn't think it was Taysom Hill, because Taysom Hill usually there's some threat of run, some weird gadget play. No, we're just gonna put him in shotgun, stand in a pocket, and just wait till the tight end comes open in the end zone. Because Derek Carr apparently can't do it.
We didn't even have to wait. The tight end was open from the get go.
He
I
was.
mean, as soon as they snapped the ball. All right. Next game was so terrible to watch. Your Ravens
Oh, real quick, sorry,
demolished.
before we move on. It's
Yeah.
looking more and more like Badgett's going to be playing again this week. It looked like he
Yeah.
wasn't, but now it looks like he will
Yeah.
be.
It's a short week. They're not going to bring
Yeah.
Fields back. They play tomorrow night.
They have him listed as doubtful for now, yes. So there's very little chance he'll play.
Ravens smashed the Seahawks 37-3. Geno Smith 1.6 points. He still beat Clayton Tune though. Kenneth Walker 16 yards on the ground. I mean, this was good grief. There was absolutely nothing happening here for the Seahawks. That defense is just crazy. But once again, I feel like we did this dance. Was it last week when I said, "What if I told you the Ravens were going to score this many points, but Lamar Jackson was only going to get 10 or whatever it was?" Wasn't that last week? Same thing happened. But he didn't have to. Gus Bus, 2 more touchdowns for him on the ground. And Keaton Mitchell, hey, ECU. I'm not a big ECU fan, but I am in Greenville, North Carolina. I know folks around here be going crazy for him. Very happy to see him succeed. And then Mark Andrews, 9 for 80. And that's it. I don't know what to do with Zay Flowers, man.
Have you played Gus in the once and done?
Yeah, I played him when didn't I play him when he blew up? Yeah. I played
I'm
when
not
he
sure
scored
if
the
you did
two
or not. I know
touchdowns.
I did. I thought that was the game you were going to play him, but decided not to. I can't remember, but we definitely talked about a week or two ago about the reason I play is because I don't know how much longer he's going to keep up as the number one guy and have these opportunities. I'm like, I want to take the chance. And luckily, it was the week he had 3 touchdowns. I mean, that in of itself was luck. He was 4th on the team in carries. 4th.
Gus?
Justice Hill was the lead back, 13
Mhm.
carries. Keaton Mitchell, 9 carries. Gus, only 5. Lamar had 10.
I was
He
gonna
was
say, yeah, Lamar 10, yeah.
4th on the team. And it's not looking like that's going to change. Not after the week Mitchell had. They're going to have to give him the ball some.
But he's also, look, you can have 5 carries when 4 of them come from the 3-yard line.
I'm with you. I'm with you there. But Mike Allstott, he is not. So
True.
I'm just saying that these bigger games that he's having now, I don't know how much they're going to keep going if he only gets 5 carries a game.
It's gonna be tough.
Very tough.
My favorite game of the week, you had briefly mentioned it earlier when you're talking about our boy CJ Stroud. The Houston Texans come back from behind and beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 39 to
What a fun
37.
game
I
to
mean,
watch.
dude, this one almost hit 80, buddy. This was, like I said, my favorite game of the week. When you got that many points, obviously there's fantasy glory to be had. Baker Mayfield was great. Did you start with Rashad White?
I did indeed.
Yeah, because you were asking me about him, so I figured that meant you started him. That was a solid start for you. He got to 26 points just about. Mike Evans hit double digits, but Kate Otten, man, that was a 2 touchdowns for him. This was like him and Cole Kmet.
One was
I
a
don't.
gimme, but the other one was a really, really nice catch in the corner of the end zone.
Yeah, and then CJ Stroud, good grief, 46 points. Tank Bell, 26 points. Oh well, I guess Noah Brown doesn't matter, but he almost got you 30 points. Nico Collins was double digits. Dalton Schultz was 22. This was a scoring fest. Love it.
I was pleased to see Mr. John Mechie had a catch for 14 yards.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, this was a fun game to watch. It was crazy back and forth, back and forth. You had no clue what was going to happen. And again, Buccaneers throw up 37 points. Most anybody had was 87 yards.
Yeah.
Dude, this
I
is the
forgot.
NFL now. It's
Dude,
everything's
I
just
forgot to
spread
look at that.
around to everybody because there is no such thing anymore as these workhorse players who are in all the time. I mean, years ago, it was a huge thing in fantasy. You had that 100-yard bonus. You know, a lot of leagues I played in, like if you got to, you get points throughout, but then if you got to that 100 yards, you get like, say, a 3-point bonus, 5-point bonus. Sweet Lord, anymore, that would just be an enormous thing because almost nobody does it. It's just, the league is just so different now. We had talked
There
about
is.
Houston, some injuries here and there, and Bobby Woods coming back. So it'll be interesting to see how they keep spreading the ball around.
Got to give it to Tank Dell. I don't care if Bobby
I
Woods comes back or not.
I'm
You
with
got to
you.
give it to Tank Dell. He
That's
was
that's
explosive.
thing. As good as Nico was this game, 3 catches, 54 yards, a touchdown. He was the 4th guy. He was outpaced by Schultz, Dell, and Brown.
Yeah. But you're still happy with what Nico Collins got you.
Well, yeah, 12.9. I mean, I'd like a little more out of him, but that's still more than the 5 points I got out of him the week I played.
You're not upset. You're not upset.
Right.
All right. Indianapolis takes down Carolina 27 to 13. Still only 1 win for the Panthers. Too bad they don't have their first round pick. Giving it to the Bears, but the Chicago fans are super happy. My favorite here is that Jonathan Taylor. He was worth starting, as was Michael Pittman, kind of. But Zach Moss, my favorite part of it, the RB4 on the season in fantasy, and I started him this week in the once and done, and he got me
I thought you'd have a black armband on tonight.
2.6 points.
It's over, bud. We talked about a few weeks
I
ago.
know. I was hoping I'd get one more
You
week,
said it
man.
yourself. It
Well, I need
doesn't
one more week.
matter how much they produce. The amount of money they just gave Jonathan Taylor was going to force their hand and start just slowly cycling Moss out of the equation. You said it yourself, yet here we are. You played him anyway.
Listen, I needed one more week, Kevin.
I'm just telling
One
you, you
more week.
outsmarted yourself. You told everybody listening, do not play him anymore. And then you played him anyway.
I didn't say don't play him. I said play him with caution.
Well, you should have listened to yourself because
Obviously.
caution. Who would you have played? Who was the guy you were considering beside him? Do you
Oh man,
recollect?
I don't even remember.
Yeah. And
But
Josh Downs had goes from the huge week to 1 reception, gets hurt, didn't play the rest of the game, might not play this week.
yeah, we'll see about that one. Well, I certainly wasn't going to play any New York Giants. Saquon
Sorry, but
Barkley.
once again, not a single 100-yard guy.
Well, no one from the Giants hit it either, and there's 6 points. We just talked last week about how terrible the Raiders are, yet they beat the Giants 30-6. Unreal. They also, Josh Jacobs did his best, but still only got to 98 yards. He did score twice, so he came out looking pretty good with 21 points. And Jacoby Myers got you 12 and a half. But and a rushing touchdown, which was weird. Nice little sweep around the end for 17 yards. But that was it in this whole game. Barkley, you were okay with, I guess, getting 12.8. And Josh Jacobs, Jacoby Myers, you're good with because
Oh yeah.
you didn't start Wandale Robinson. But
So
I mean,
because there are so
maybe it's too
few
dark.
late games, we got to see a lot of this on Red Zone. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, dude, I dream of a day that in his prime still, sort of like Roquan Smith getting to go to the Ravens from the Bears, to
Mhm.
see Max Crosby to get to go to a real freaking team.
I
Because
know.
that dude is freaking just sick. He owned the Giants. Like, dude, it's like he was their daddy. It was freaking nuts. The dude just manhandles everybody. So to get to see what he could do on a real team, the real defense, a real offense would just we're talking defensive MVP guy.
Yeah. Oh,
And a lot of things are calling him the number 2 guy right now behind what's his face? Who's the dude who beats people over the head with his helmet? Cleveland.
Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett. Sorry, brain fart there. They have him 1, him 2, and then I think Joey Bosa 3, maybe TJ Watt, somebody like that.
A game that I cannot say I enjoyed the whole time I watched it, but the final score was okay. My Eagles took down the Cowboys 28-23. Uh, Dak Prescott looked great at times. He also looked like Dak Prescott other times. Tony Pollard, if you paid up for him in the first round or even the second round of fantasy drafts, I don't know what to tell you. We told you not to. I think you were a little higher on him than I
A
was.
little, but I expected more out of him than this. I did not expect what some people did, like he was going to be a top 5 guy, because he said it himself. We talked about it earlier in the show. He's not an every down back, and it's showing.
I know. We knew that Jake Ferguson was going to have a good day. We knew that CeeDee Lamb was going to have a good day. 11 for 191.
Yeah.
What a ball game. So we'll do Eagles real quick. Jalen Hurts, he does his thing as always. AJ Brown's fine. 7 for 66 and a touchdown. Devontae Smith found the end zone. Dallas Goedert is done for a few weeks. What he broke his elbow or
Broke his arm, and they were going in for
something
the
like
surgery
that.
to find out just how bad it is. He might be out 4 weeks. He might be out 8.
Last year, when Goddard didn't play, Devonta Smith balled out. So keep an eye on that. But let me ask you. So we see what CeeDee Lamb did to the Eagles. The Eagles play the Cowboys again. What week is that? I think it's week 13 or 14, maybe 14, I think. Right before the once and done playoffs. Do you put CeeDee Lamb out there
No,
1 week before the playoffs start?
unless I'm in a
Pickle?
difficult spot, there's no way.
That's the guy I'm keeping in my back pocket because if I end up in a situation like I did last year, I'm not leaving any points behind, buddy. CeeDee Lamb is going in against the Eagles.
18, 17, 15, 14. Yeah, week 14,
Yeah,
December 10th. No,
that's
I'm in
gonna
a
be
position
something.
right now, fortunately, knock on wood, that I hopefully can manage things pretty well. You right now are in that position you were last year of teetering, and you don't want to not putting screws to you again. So
Yeah.
you're right. Some people are going to maybe have to pull that. Boy, what a great game to do it. Him and
I'm
AJ
also
Brown.
yeah, I'm also 9 points away from playoffs.
Exactly.
It's
That's what I'm saying. But
nothing.
last year you missed the playoffs by 6 points.
Due to a guy who scored 200 points.
And yeah, it was nuts.
Wild.
So it's
Um,
funny this game. These are 2 very philanthropic teams. Because what did I say to you after the game? The Eagles went out of their way to say, Dallas, please have this game. We would like you to have this. Take it. It's yours. And Dallas was like, no, thank you, Eagles. We prefer you keep it for yourself. Thank you for the
never looked
offer.
a gift horse in the
Take
mouth.
the win. These are 2 teams that sooner or later, this is going to catch up to both of them. This whole thing of just not winning. Well, Eagles are, I know they only one loss. So we've been talking about all year. They're playing these games now that they're winning by less than a touchdown. Last year they were winning by 3 touchdowns. This is going to haunt them sooner or later. It might be the playoffs, might be before, but sooner or later, something bad is going to happen.
Get
And
that
you're
loss
not
in
going to be a
the first
happy
place.
boy. We'll be
Get that
playing,
loss.
we'll be doing this afterwards. It's going to
Nonsense.
happen, dude. It's not pretty football. It's not what it should look like.
You need to get a crying baby drop. That's what we need. We need a crying baby.
I'll have to look for that.
When they say that anyone who watched this game, if your girlfriend or I don't know, somebody you know doesn't like understand football, when they say it's a game of inches, this game was the perfect example of that
Sure
because
was.
there are two plays for the Cowboys where what was it, Jake Ferguson, I think, was caught a ball and was trying to go in the end zone, and they caught a touchdown at first on review. His knee was down literally 3 inches in front of the goal line, and
he was down before he caught it because he was tackled.
well, right, yeah,
It
they
was
didn't call
clear
it pass
pass
interference.
interference. They just didn't call it.
And I think on that same play, if you look, there's a different camera angle. There's an obvious offensive hold happening, just a couple feet out of the screen there. But anyway, regardless of the calls or no calls,
Inches, yeah.
inches. And then there's another play where Dallas is going for a 2-point conversion, and Dak Prescott. This was a almost at least as egregious as George Pickens not getting his foot in when he had 3 yards to do so. But he has no reason to step out of bounds, and he steps out of bounds by 2 inches, an inch, 2 inches,
Yeah,
and it
it was.
cost them the
Yeah,
2-point conversion.
his foot hit in, but it slid. But you're right. You got to stay in bounds. You got to find
Oh
a way. You're Dak. You're getting paid $16 million a year to not screw that up. The Pickens thing was far more egregious. That was just complete lack of effort, care, focus. This was just a guy's foot sliding on that sort of maybe a dewy turf by 2 inches, but still, you're getting paid millions to make that play. You lost because of it.
Yep.
Potentially. I mean, who knows what would have happened afterwards, but that was the difference. You lost by 5. That was 6.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Kevin, don't look now, but these Cincinnati Bengals they're rolling here. Think they're going to start picking up steam, and they're going to end
Called
up
it, dude. I'm not upset.
I know by the end of the year, man, they're going to be one of the teams to beat in the AFC for sure. They just took down the Bills 24-18. Allen is obviously good. Stephon Diggs is obviously good, and our guy Dalton Kincaid stepping up here doing well. And then for the Bengals, everyone except for Chase, that you started, Mixon, Burrow, T. Higgins, all good. Watch this Jamar Chase back injury. He did not practice yesterday, and I don't think he practiced today. I
He
could
did
be
not.
wrong. I have to
And
check
he's
that.
being very cryptic as though he's not going to play. If I had to put money on it now, I'd say he's not playing.
Yeah, and if he doesn't, watch out T. Higgins, buddy. Who they playing? Do you know off the top of your head?
It's I think Houston.
Oh, well, I'm
Yeah,
I can
Houston
tell you
at
right now,
Cincinnati.
if
Good
Jamar
weather
Chase
too.
sits, there's a 0% chance I don't play T. Higgins and probably Burrow in the once and done.
Here's my thing. This game was sort of, it wasn't pretty. But back to what you were saying about the Bengals. There's some people now saying that hell they might win out the rest of the year, which they very well might. Now that Brady's out of the league, I don't know that there's a single quarterback in the league, not Josh Allen, not Mahomes, not Hurts, not Herbert, not any of those guys, that I would want to face least in the playoffs than Joe Burrow.
Interesting. Mahomes would be mine.
Yeah, I mean I like him, but he's lost in the playoffs too. There's just something about Joey B that whole swagger he has. Now I'm not saying he's better than Mahomes. That's not what I'm not going there. I'm not stupid. I'm just saying as far as that whole Brady in the playoffs deal,
Mindset.
I do not want Joe Burrow rolling into my town. I do not. I sure as hell don't want to go to Cincinnati and have to play him.
What if you just switch jerseys? What if you put Mahomes on the Bengals with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon? Right. I think Mahomes,
Well,
I'd
yeah, I'm
much
not
rather have
saying he's not better. I'm just saying Burrow's attitude, his whole
Yeah,
swagger, his whole thing with the
gotcha.
playoffs instead of Mahomes and now all the crap that goes on with KC and maybe believing the pipe a little bit too much. Joey B is just Mr. Cool now. That's just how he is.
True. Last game was awful. That's Austin Eckler got you 20 points because he scored twice on the ground, but he wasn't good. I mean, if you watch the game, he didn't look good. 14 carries for 47 yards. You're not excited about that. Keenan Allen, you're kind of okay with, I guess. 8 for 77. And then, sorry, Jets. That's it.
He just didn't do much. It was game
No.
management. It was game management. The Jets D actually, yeah, they gave up 20. I think they actually only gave up 20. Wasn't there there's a punt return the Chargers had early in the game for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
But their defense looked great. They really did. They'd come when you hold Justin Herbert to 6 points, you've done something, but they just can't do anything on offense. Even our boy, we both played Garrett Wilson this week. Could have been a decent game, but then he decided to fumble and they just couldn't get anything going. Breece Hall didn't do crap. This with even a competent quarterback, the Jets could be 5-3, 6-2 right now, and in the thick of things. But with Zach Wilson, they just have no chance.
I mean, when you had to you had to get everything you got and go to overtime to beat the Giants, who the Raiders just beat by 24 points, whatever it
Yeah, and
was.
the Giants should have won. I mean, again, that was one of those
But
philanthropic things. They did everything they could to just hand the game to the Jets. And the Jets, unlike the Cowboys, were kind enough to accept.
they needed a little extra time to do it.
Yes,
But
they did. But man, this Jets team, boy. Well, I know it's stupid to think because injuries happen every year to huge players, but boy, what could have been with Aaron Rodgers?
he says he'll be back a couple weeks.
He said 3 fortnights. That's 6 weeks. By then, I think it's going to be already none night, and it's not going to much matter. I mean, they're 4-4. Who would have thunk it? But by then, they could easily be 4-10.
True, definitely. All right, sir. Starts of the week. Let's get to it. Who you got for your QB?
These aren't necessarily people I'm playing in once and done because that's going to have to be. This is going to be different now because once and done starts getting tough this time of year.
Mhm.
I know I don't want to do it, but I'm going with Kyler Murray. If you're in a position that you need to play him, I'm playing the one another league that I talk with a friend of mine that I help him with his team some. It's him or Geno. It can't get much worse than Geno right now. Geno's not going to be starting in 2 weeks if he has another clunker. So we're going Kyler Murray. We're going to take the chance. It's at home against Atlanta. I think they're going to put him in some good positions to make some plays. And why not take a shot at it?
My start of the week, Geno Smith.
How? How? He's
Listen,
awful.
Listen. He's QB 24, and he's only been a QB1 once all year. But this past week, he was horrendous. He was also on the road against one of the league's best defenses. He is home against Washington, who gives up the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Kevin, this is it. This is it for me. If Geno doesn't do it this week, he may be the new he who shall not be named.
So you're using the good old he's due argument.
Matchup.
Is that what you're telling me? He's due.
Matchup. It's the easiest team to play against if you're a quarterback for fantasy.
His last 5 games have been 8-8, 14-14, and 1. But
so on the season, the Commanders give up the most fantasy points for but that doesn't really take into account them also giving up their 2 best pass rushers. So they're going to be even worse than they've been.
I'll buy what you're selling. I'll buy what you're selling. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt here, but wow.
This is it.
You at times you have these things with some of these players that it's weird a little bit. It's a little weird. It's like you're willing him into it. You want him to do well.
I do.
You don't necessarily think he will, but you feel as though by calling him out on the show as your play of the week that he will him into 27 fantasy points in your 13 different leagues you have him.
So I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead here and say, here, my wide receiver for the week is DK Metcalf, and I am going down with this shit, buddy. He is wide receiver 33 points per game. He only has 2 touchdowns on the year. He hasn't been a top 20 wide receiver a single time. Listen, we're coupling him with Geno here. If it doesn't happen this week, I'm out and I'm just going to cry myself to sleep because, man, what could have been with DK Metcalf? He is being wasted out there. Maybe Drew Lock coming in would be the best thing for DK.
All 3 of those receivers are being wasted.
I know.
And I
They're too
called this.
loud
This
here.
is one of my things that we talked before the season started on the show. If there's one guy in the league that's going to shit the bed, it's not going to live up to the hype. It was Geno Smith. He's had a 8-game streak in his entire career where he looked like a competent NFL quarterback. But everybody was they give him this huge contract. NFL people, fantasy people, Dradden was like the number 6 or 7 quarterback. I'm like, what is it? Are you people mad?
But even when he wasn't doing well, you were still getting good weeks from Lockett. You were still getting good weeks from DK.
Yeah. Now
You've
you're not
got,
getting good weeks from anybody except
no,
JSN, only because you drafted him in the 14th round and it's good value.
yeah.
I'm just, hey, more power
give
to
me
you,
your
brother.
receiver since we're here.
It can't get any worse than last week. I'll give you that.
Oh, for them? No, they can't.
Like that
Well,
Leo song where I had my buddy, we played him. He got negative points.
yeah.
My receivers, D-Hop. The last 2 weeks, he's had 6 and 11 targets. Levis loves to throw to him. They're going up against the Bucs defense, who gives up the second most points to receivers. If I had D-Hop left in the once and done, he'd be at the top of my freaking list this week. Unfortunately, I played him already. But I played him in a week he did really well, so I can't be too upset.
Sure. All right, for running backs, you're going to like this because I'm going to pull a Kevin Reynolds and just say Lions running backs.
Nice.
David Montgomery, he's an auto start. He should be back this week. If he plays, he can. I mean, he's almost a lock for a touchdown. I feel like whenever he's out there on the field. And I also think maybe they'll go back to their old ways. Maybe it'll be pound the rock with David Montgomery and sprinkling some touches for Jahmyr Gibbs. But I kind of think Gibbs was unlocked in the last few weeks when David Montgomery was out. They found what he's good at. He was so successful. I just don't know with him, with how well he looked the past couple weeks, how they don't try to get him the ball more. And the Chargers have the 8th worst defense to opposing running backs. So I really think you can start both of these guys with some confidence.
Yeah, most likely. I still think it's going to come down to Gibbs will be the primary back from the 10 to the 10, and then Montgomery will be in. And that's the issue. He's going to have to rack up his points or break something over 10 yards to score. But if there's a guy in the back in the league right now that could, it's him. He looks
right.
He looks pretty good. But I'm just until
Can
that
you
plays
imagine?
out, I've got to stay away from that situation. I've already played them both, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Would you put it past Dan Campbell to have had this been his plan the whole time? Like save Jahmyr Gibbs until halfway through the season and then let him roll the second half?
Why not?
That'd be, I know.
The thing I would do with Jahmyr Gibbs, especially since they have receivers hurt every week, man, I'd roll him into the slot every once in a while. I'd just run him out wide. Do anything you can, even if he's just a decoy. Do anything you can to get the ball in that guy's hands. Why not? Why make it that he's only occasionally getting a run between the 20s?
We do this all the time, though. Like when the Eagles had Darren Sproles and LaShawn McCoy, get them both out there. I mean, Bijan Robinson should be lining up in the slot, but actually throwing to him too.
Yep.
And, I mean, this happens all the time. NFL teams just don't do it.
Yeah, because these are two backs that can actually catch.
Right. All right, who you got?
My running back of the week. This is a guy that you should always be playing anyway, but I picked Breece Hall. The Raiders give up the 4th most against the run. And he just hasn't been doing a whole lot. So he's not like a lock to do well every week because with Garrett Wilson in there, or not Garrett Wilson, Zach Wilson, man, teams just stopping the run. But if you're going to run against somebody, it's him because they sure as heck aren't going to be able to pass.
It might be better with Garrett Wilson under center.
They couldn't be a whole lot worse. Max Crosby's going to feast. I like to play the Raiders in the once and done, but I already played them. I could see the guy having 5 sacks this game. But Breece Hall might be able to run by him, right? Best way to deal with a player like him is go right at him.
So, that's right.
Yeah, I don't feel great about it, but if there's a week he could do well, maybe this is it.
Give me Dalton Schultz at the tight end position. He's been killing it lately. Just had a 20-plus point game, and the Bengals are the 3rd worst team against tight ends.
Yeah, I thought about him. Actually, I did think about him. I have written down here. I do have Schultz written down.
You thought about it so much you wrote it down.
I'm not playing him in the once and done. Who do I have in? Oh, okay. I see. I might change. I actually have Schultz written down. I was saying I had Trey McBride because I think he could have a big game too against the Falcons with Kyler Murray coming back. Kyler Murray loves throwing to tight ends. So I think he could be a nice little safety valve for him this week. but I actually have Schultz in as well.
All right. And since I haven't talked about Seattle enough, I'm going to go ahead and have them be my defense. This one I actually feel confident about, though, because they're a very good fantasy defense. Sam Howell's on pace to get sacked 1,000 times, and Seattle should be able to put some points on the board. And this defense should be in a position to be able to take advantage of obvious passing situations that the Commanders are going to find themselves in. So why not? I'll be a Seahawks fan this week.
Fair enough. The defense that anybody that can possibly play them they should play this week would be the Cowboys against the Giants, 78
Oh, yeah.
screen quarterback. And I think they have on their offensive line now, I think they only have one guy starting this week that was a starter in week 1. The Cowboys could seriously throw up like 50 fantasy points in this game. But that's anybody be playing the Cowboys anyway this week. I'm going with the Steelers. Steelers at home. Who do they have? I had it written down, but for some reason it's not on my screen anymore. Green Bay. Jordan Love, who is awful on the road. He's even more awful. Steelers are starting to look competent, all except for their quarterback. And I expect a big game out of them.
The Cowboys, the first time that they played the Giants week 1, scored 37 fantasy points for a
They
defense.
might score more this time.
They might.
They might not get as many points. I think they had a touchdown or two mixed in there. But this is one of those games that's going to be like the Cleveland Arizona game this week. Men amongst men playing boys. It's just going to not be pretty.
All right. Anything else, sir, before we get out of here?
Most leagues, make sure you know your rules, because in many leagues, my league of record, for example, this is the trade deadline, week 10.
A lot of them I know, like on Yahoo and some other sites, is next Saturday, the 18th.
Yeah. Ours is week 10. So
early.
Okay, buddy.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Check us out, YouTube, Spotify, and Facebook. And Kevin, good time. We'll see you in a week.
Later, buddy.